Hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Please let me know in the comments where you guys are watching from, where you tuned in from. And we're about to get started. A big summary of this whole war, genocide, whatever you want to call it, honestly. We've got people tuning in from Ireland. We've got people tuning in from Chicago. We've got people tuned in from Canada. Also, again, from Chicago, from Zio, Germany. Multiple people from Germany. We've got people tuned in from Colorado, from England, Las Vegas and Nevada. We've got Quebec, San Diego, Pennsylvania, California, Virginia, from Australia. We've got all the Five Eyes countries. all the Five Eyes are here, right? Plus some extras. We've got Poland, Sweden, China. That's a good bit of variety there. Okay, very good, very good. Australia, yeah, everyone's here. All the Five Eyes, like I said. Argentina, Brooklyn, etc. San Francisco. Love you guys. Love you guys. So let's dive right into this and talk about the hostage exchange. I mean, I was up following this. I was up all night following it because I knew it was going to start very early in the morning. So it's about 8 o'clock in Gaza, 7 for me, and you know, the whole thing went on the entire day. So I'm going to try and compress as much information as I can in and condense it, you know, very, very, very quickly. So yeah. Bobby says, I like your cross. It's very nice. Thank you. Actually, this is this necklace is an idea I stole from I don't know if I can say their name, so just to be safe, I won't. But they're a fan of the show, and they basically had this map of Syria with the cross. So I got inspired by them and made my own version of it. So yeah. Thank you. So let's talk about this exchange, okay, and what it means long term. So you should be able to see this on your screen, okay? So let's begin. Christ, it's quite a bit, yeah, but we'll try and plow through it. Excuse me. So the Israelis and Hamas carried out phase 1 of this so-called Trump ceasefire deal. They exchanged hostages. All of the Israeli captives taken on October 7 during the Aqsa flood were transferred to the International Committee of the Red Cross and then transferred to the Israelis. So there are no more living Israeli captives in Gaza. All 20 of them were transferred. And in exchange, you have almost 2,000 Palestinian hostages that were liberated, some in the West Bank, some in Gaza, some deported outside of Palestine. So I'm going to go through everything that happened today, including the summit and what Trump said and all of it. Okay, so here, first of all, you can see this began at 8 o'clock in the morning in Gaza with Hamas transferring 7 Israelis to the Red Cross, and then the other 13 shortly afterwards, about 2 hours later at 10 a.m. local time. So this was the very, very first group of 7 Israelis. Okay, so they were escorted by convoys, by Hamas convoys throughout the Strip. Okay, and some of them were allowed to do video calls with their families actually beforehand. So you can see these are basically that's one of the Israeli captives next to a Hamas guard or fighter doing a video call with their Israeli family. You get the idea. Here you can see the Israeli helicopters transferring the freed Israeli captives to IDF military hospitals and then basically giving them medical checkups. And so you had this hostages square, as it's called in Tel Aviv, packed with Israelis and so on. And here's more footage of these Red Cross slash, well, I shouldn't say slash, let's say, because the Israelis would love to call the Red Cross Hamas as well, I imagine. But yeah, let's just say Red Cross convoys. So you can see the cross and the emblem there and everything. And kind of people just walking around observing what's going on. Right. So you can see the Israelis. These are two of the freed captives. They're in pretty good shape if you compare them to the state that Palestinians were in when they were liberated, not just this morning, but during the previous exchanges, all the exchanges, right? We'll come back to that. And so then you had the Israelis liberating the Palestinians. First, they began from Hofer prison, which is in the West Bank, in the occupied West Bank. And they basically sent a bunch of buses to get them and liberate them. Now, you might be thinking, why the West Bank? Like, isn't Hamas in Gaza? Yes. But what Hamas did, and I'll come back to this afterwards, is they forced the Israelis to liberate people that have nothing to do with Hamas, that are simply just Palestinians. And this is part of their strategy of national unity, right? So we'll come back to that afterwards, but that's why they started with people in the West Bank, okay? So you can see some of these buses carrying people and so on. And then later, so you had then the Palestinians freed, and these are what the scenes looked like. Those are the typical gray tracksuit uniforms, prison clothes that they give to people in Israeli jails. You can see some of them can't even walk because they're so malnourished and physically weak after, you know, decades or years in Israeli dungeons. Sometimes even months, really. They even a few months is enough to deteriorate their health on an incredible scale. So you can see some of the effects. You know, people coming out amputated, really just in a horrible state, right? It's not even comparable to how well fed and well treated the Israelis were. This is an objective fact that you can see with your own eyes. So when it comes to Gaza, when people were liberated in Gaza, they had these chairs and you know, a sea of people ready to welcome them at the Nasser medical complex, which is in Khan Yunis in Gaza. So they had these chairs lined up, you know, to welcome people and give them medical checkups and everything. You'll see here one of the reporters from Press TV was live at the scene.
Were kidnapped and arrested by the Israeli occupation forces, and as you know, this should be a momentous day for those Palestinian people. This is the moment that those Palestinian families have been waiting for more than 2 consecutive years. They had their hope in order to meet and reunified with their families, with their, as you know, with their beloved ones. And
yeah, and you can see here some of the experiences that people went through, kind of just venting about it afterwards, after being released.
وبيغلطوا علينا بكل اشكال العذابات على المستوى النفسي والجسدي، والله ما بننام، بيهددونا باولادنا، قتلنا اولادكم، ما فيش غزه، خشت غزه، لقيت هذا مشهد من مشاهد يوم القيامه.
We thank God for being released from these dark prisons of injustice. We have come back to Gaza. We thank God for our safety and coming home safe and sound. Our people are brave, steadfast. We have sacrificed a lot, yet our sacrifice is too little compared to others.
The list of people freed is so massive, honestly. I mean, Samidun, who are one of the larger advocacy groups for Palestinian prisoners, they do, you know, excellent work. They put out a list of all the names. I mean, if I just scroll through it for you, you can see it's extraordinary. Frankly, you can barely keep up. So this first list over here is made up of people that were condemned in Israeli so-called courts to life sentences or multiple life sentences, right? So this is reminiscent of, for example, the Good Friday Agreement, in the sense that you had people with life sentences in British occupation jails that were released. It's kind of the same thing. So that's the first chunk of the list. And it's already, over 200 people, right? All of them life sentences, so 250. Multiple life sentences even. And then you have another 1,718 Palestinians. I mean, just look at the list is extraordinary. Look, I'll just scroll through it. It's endless. Endless. And keep in mind, there are still 10,000 Palestinians in Israeli jails right now. Even after these almost 2,000 were released. You still have 10,000. So, I mean, where do you even begin, right? Like, the fact that we didn't even know who was going to be released this morning. Like, you knew the names of the Israeli hostages because there are so few of them. There are so few of them. Literally 20, right? 20 alive and another 28 bodies, remains, corpses, which Israel killed, by the way. There are thousands of Palestinian hostages. To the last minute, the Israelis were kind of just jerking Hamas and Palestinians around about who is going to be released. Oh, changing names at the last minute, Extraordinarily, they even put some names of dead people. Like, they tried to release less people by tricking the Palestinians and putting the names of dead people or people that have already been released in the list. Like, I mean, talk about bad faith, negotiating in bad faith. Extraordinary, frankly, extraordinary. So you see the physical state that people are in. Can barely walk, completely knackered. And the Israelis told their families, particularly in the West Bank, because the occupation is they are occupying, the Israelis still over 50% of Gaza right now. But in the occupied West Bank, they have more of an infrastructure, shall we say, more checkpoints, more data, etc. So they put out these leaflets to Palestinians, warning them that if they celebrate the release of their own family members, they will be punished, right? So it says لن تسمح قوات الأمن الإسرائيلية بتنظيم مظاهرات دعم التنظيمات الإرهابية. So basically that the Israeli security forces prohibit any organizing of protests that support terrorist organizations. I mean, what they mean really is that if you celebrate the release of these people that for the Israelis are quote unquote terrorists, you will be punished, right? That's what these flyers mean. And it's nothing new. This is not the first time that the Israelis have done this at all, right? At all. It's really not. And even the BBC talked about it.
The Israelis had made very clear that they didn't want any public celebrations at all. They'd even spoken to the families and said, if there are public celebrations, we'll send the prisoners back to jail. So
there you go. Not that we needed the BBC to tell us anything, but as a journalist, I like having multiple sources. So you can see here one of the CCTV footage, one of the CCTV cameras capturing footage of the Israelis basically dropping off one of the Palestinians at the West Bank. And, it's like no crowds, no flags, no nothing, right? Contrast that with how the Israelis in so-called hostage square are jubilant and, allowed to express themselves and their emotions, and everyone is supposed to like bend over backwards globally, right? Like for a bunch of genocidal rape soldiers. No, when they're releasing Palestinians on their own land, it's very, very banal, bland, and no celebrations or emotions allowed. Right? I'll just fast forward a bit. You can see it's very non-eventful. Okay, just handcuffs off. You see the gray uniform from the prison uniform, and then back in.
also their own tales of harsh treatment. Most of them were quite thin, emaciated even, pale. Some of them couldn't walk by themselves. One medic told me that a number had injuries because they were beaten. A few were beaten before they were released. And so that also put a, the families are concerned about the condition of their relatives and their family members.
So one of the, or rather the longest serving prisoner on the Palestinian side, although I hesitate to say the word prisoner, it's, again, they're hostages. But he did 39 years. So his name is Samir Abu Na'meh, 39 years in Israeli dungeons. And he was the most senior hostage liberated today. Almost as long as George Abdullah, right? You guys saw my interview with him just a few weeks ago. I went to Lebanon to interview him. So he didn't do time in the Israeli prisons, but the Israelis and Americans made sure he did 41 years in a French prison. So, I mean, same thing, right? It's still an occupation jail, in my opinion. So, 39 years, Samir Abu Na'meh. And here's another one that was released. You can see his name is on the list of those with life sentences. So if I scroll back up, you can see under down here, Nader Sadaqa, okay? So this guy was also released today, and he is actually, here's a photograph of him, right? So he's actually an Israelite Samaritan, okay? So Samiriyun. Not exactly Jewish, right? It's not entirely correct to say that they're Jewish, but very close, very, 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 very close to like very, old school, ancient Canaanite Hebrew, as a Hebrew and Canaanite ethno-religious group. Okay, I think there's barely 1,000 of them left, but very, very close to old school Judaism. And he's a member of the PFLP, a commander actually in the PFLP, and he did 2 decades in Israeli dungeons, and he was also on the list. And the reason I'm showing you this is twofold, because the Israelis and the West like to paint the whole Palestinian resistance as being Islamist and, focused on like, 1 or 2 people or 1 or 2 groups that they, like they'll spit out Hamas Hezbollah every second, right? Like Hamas and Hezbollah. But you have multiple groups, and not everyone in that resistance is necessarily Muslim. I mentioned George Abdullah just a few moments ago. He's a Christian, for example. This guy's a Samaritan. And the second reason I'm telling you this is because is going back to what I also said at the introduction, where Hamas, one of their strategies, and this goes back a couple of years, you could say even to May 2021, when they saw that the Israelis were attacking worshippers at the Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, they launched those rockets at Israel in response. And even the name of October 7 operation, Al-Aqsa Flood, is named after that mosque in Jerusalem. Obviously, it has an Islamic significance to it, but politically, Hamas are trying to, the idea behind that is to gain support in the West Bank, where they don't really have the same kind of presence that they did in Gaza, and that worked. That worked actually. So their success has been twofold. They not only got international support for the Palestinian cause and brought it back to the #1 political issue in the world, but they also succeeded in garnering support among Palestinians. For Hamas, or rather not specifically for Hamas, but basically the idea of the resistance, right? So that's the reason why they wanted, for example, people in the West Bank to be released, even though they don't control the West Bank. And you have different groups there, you have different political affiliations and so on. So it's very important to understand this, like the political thinking and strategy behind that. Behind why you have non-Muslims and non-Hamas people being released as part of a Hamas exchange, hostage exchange. And had George Abdullah not been released in July by the French, I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% sure that they would have demanded his release now during this hostage exchange. I don't know if the French would have obliged them, because, they never have in the past when others tried to force their hand. Again, I go into that in detail in the interview, but the Lebanese communists had met with Hamas about a year ago and asked them to put George Abdullah's name on the next hostage exchange list. So I'm pretty sure, I'm almost certain he would have been on that list this time round. And usually these lists go by seniority anyway. So if that's why you had Samir Abu Na'meh being released as well. So extraordinary stuff, extraordinary scenes. here you can see also, again, in the gray prison uniforms of the Israeli occupation, some of the women being released today. Here's some of the people being reunited with their families. I believe this might be in the West Bank. I'm not quite sure where this clip is from, but it's definitely from today. I mean, just by the fact that the building is standing, I'm assuming it's the West Bank, right? It's pretty sad to have to use that as a sort of barometer or compass to tell us. In any case, you then had Trump flying to occupy Palestine. He gave a speech in the Knesset, in the Israeli parliament, and then, you know, after like 2 hours, went immediately to Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, where they had this bollocks peace summit. So let's look at some of the things that Trump said and Netanyahu said. I mean, it beggars belief.
I mean, Bibi would call me so many times, can you get me this weapon, that weapon, that weapon? Some of them I never heard of, Bibi, and I made them. But we'd get them here, wouldn't we? Huh? And they are the best. They are the best. But you used them well. It also takes people that know how to use them.
I mean, he's talking about it like he lent him a lawnmower or like a hairdryer or something. I don't know if I should be laughing or crying. Like I don't know. It's just it's so surreal and it's almost comical, isn't it? They speak so like callously about genocide that you just like your brain kind of I don't know. It's unbelievable. There's something like off about all of this. Really, really freaky.
Decades said, we're going to do it. The difference is I kept my promise and officially recognized the capital of Israel and moved the American embassy to Jerusalem. Isn't that right, Miriam? Look at Miriam. She's back there. Stand up, Miriam.
So he's talking about Miriam Adelson and Sheldon Adelson, who are probably the biggest, who are the biggest donors to the Republican Party in the, I think the last two elections. Anyway, they are certainly Trump's biggest donors as well. Obviously, since he was a GOP's candidate, and you know they are. Even Trump doesn't know whether to call them Israelis or Americans, which is really kind of funny.
That's what I actually asked her once. I said, so Miriam, I know you love Israel. What do you love more, the United States or Israel? She refused to answer. That might mean Israel, I must say.
Again, it's like, this is like watching an AI comedy routine. It's unbelievable. It frankly is. Like, I can't take any of this seriously. It's frankly unbelievable. And so he's showing off about all the things that he's done and given Israel. And, you know, I did that video during his first term called Trump was the biggest gift to Israel. Or Trump was a gift to Israel, something like that. And it's on the channel. And that was during the first term. And I talked about how he killed Soleimani and pulled out the nuclear deal. And he you know, gave the Syrian Golan Heights to Israel. Like, you know, as if they belonged to him or something. And he put sanctions on Iran and sanctions on Syria, and it's a long list, right? And it's like Netanyahu went and watched my video and spat out every single one of those points. He stood up in the Knesset today and thanked Trump for all of those points, one by one, with an equal emphasis on killing Soleimani, with an equal emphasis as I had put on that point in my video. Extraordinary. It's nice being vindicated. So you can see here Netanyahu laying it on rather thick.
Terror axis. Sinwar, Dev, Khania, Nasrallah, Assad, they're all gone. Terror.
So you notice he said Assad, right? There's still people who are under the impression that what happened in Syria was a civil war. It was just a civil war. Assad the butcher, the people rising up, that's it. And they ignore Donald Trump and Netanyahu openly on microphone, on tape, saying, hey, we took the guy out. This is our project. This is our doing. He said it at the time. He went on the Golan Heights, like the message could, I mean, Jesus, you couldn't write a better script. You couldn't write a better script. He didn't just say it. He went on the Golan Heights to say it. Netanyahu, a year ago, less than a year ago. And he claims credit 2 times during the speech today for taking out Bashar al-Assad. And Donald Trump, for giving him the Golan Heights, also claims credit.
Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House.
I know. I've been saying that for a long time, for, 3 presidencies now, haven't I? I know. Again, it's nice to be vindicated. I'm going to rub it in. I'm going to rub some people's noses in it. Sorry, I have to. So then Lapid, who used to be in Netanyahu's government, then he buggered off. Now he's the head of the opposition. He also gave a short speech. Let's listen to what he had to say.
From here, I say to all those who demonstrated against Israel these past 2 years, on the streets of London and Rome, in Paris and in Columbia University. I do not represent the government. As you know, I am the leader of the opposition. And I tell you, then, you were deceived. You were deceived. Propaganda experts, funded by terror money, manipulated you. Now that the war has stopped, you have time and a chance to go and learn the facts. The truth is, there was no genocide. No intentional starvation.
Really? Let's listen to what Gallant said.
אנחנו מטילים מצור מוחלט על העיר עזה. אין חשמל, אין מזון. אין מים. אין דלק.
I think it's pretty clear. It's not me saying that. It's the Israeli defense minister on October 9th, 2023. No electricity, no fuel, no water. Nothing. Full blockade, full siege. So, you're a liar. That's what you are. You're a fat liar. So what the hell is terror money? Does like the bill stare at you and say no one loves you? Like what does that even mean? The Israelis put this as like a prefix in front of anything. Terror tunnel, right? Terror money. There's also a bunch of them that I'm not remembering right now, but terror tunnels is one they use a lot, right? It's just terror access, right? That's another one. It's so ridiculous, right? If you see that as a prefix before any word, you know an Israeli wrote that. Okay, this is just a dead giveaway, easy tell. So then Donald Trump goes to this summit in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt to sign some bollocks peace deal, which has no Palestinians present. How can you sign a peace deal with yourself? Again, you can go and find my reporting on the Abraham Accords, and you'll see me yelling the same thing. There are no Palestinians present. Who are you making peace with, yourself? You're gonna need a lot of shrinks for that. Seriously though, the war is not between the United States and Egypt and Israel. Okay? And again, when I say war, I'm not talking about like this genocide now, I'm talking about the whole thing. Who are you making peace with? What a joke. So just take a look at some of these clips, right? Here's the Pakistani Prime Minister, or I mean, should we say usurper, Free Imran Khan, talking about Trump, just like kissing his backside and laying it on so thick, even more than Netanyahu did, way more.
And today, again, I would like to nominate this great president for Nobel Peace Prize, because I genuinely feel that he is the most genuine and most wonderful candidate for Peace Prize, because he has brought not only peace in South Asia, saved millions of people.
Yeah, again, I don't know what he's on about. Like, just completely gone, detached from reality. Here's Trump. This is a bit awkward. So he's shaking hands with the Deputy Foreign Minister of the UAE, and look what he says.
Egypt has to go, yeah?
I don't know what the hell I'm watching. He's saying a lot of cash, unlimited amounts of cash. It's just look at their faces. They look like the Joker, right? They look like cartoonishly evil villains. You couldn't make this shit up. I swear to God, it's like I feel like I've been dropped into an alternate reality or something. Just look at their faces, mate. Just look at those plastic Madame Tussauds smiles, right? Those billionaire Wall Street shady backdoor corporate smiles and handshakes. I mean, it's literally like watching, Satan spawn. Unbelievable.
The final sprint to this deal began less than 3 weeks ago on the sidelines of the United Nations in New York. I met with many of the people in this room, and it all just started coming together. I've known so many of you for so long. You're friends of mine. You're great people. I have a couple I don't like in particular, but I won't tell you who. I have actually a few of them I don't like at all, but you'll never find out who they are.
Humiliation ritual. That's what it is. And speaking of humiliation, this is what he did to Sir Keir Starmer.
United Kingdom. Where's United Kingdom? Where's my friend? Where? Come here. Is everything going good?
Very good.
It's very nice that you're here. These people all came in like 20-minute notice, and I think it's fantastic. And we have so many others, and just so many others.
I mean, he's basically calling him a lapdog. You came at 20 minutes notice, and he doesn't even remember his name, right? Does he have a name? Does Keir Starmer even have a name? Like he's kind of like a shell. Is Keir really his name? I prefer Sir Keir Starmer anyway, but he flip-flops so much, I don't really know what his name is. Maybe he doesn't have one. So again, more of this theater. You can see behind him the King of Jordan, and you can see just above Trump the Italian Prime Minister, all of them, Azerbaijan, just sitting there. Aliyev.
They always talked about World War III would start in the Middle East, and that's not going to happen.
Okay, if you say so, mate. I mean, whatever, right? Whatever. And these statements put out by these goddamn shells like von der Leyen and even the UN Secretary General, right? Not a single mention of Palestinians. Like usually they pretend they will say something like, the Israeli hostages and Palestinian families, or something like that, or even families is too humanizing for them to use in the context of Palestinians. But you understand, I think my point is well taken. They will make some indirect reference, a dehumanizing cold reference to Palestinians, even if it's minimal. No, these statements didn't even have that. Nothing. It's like they didn't even exist. It's like they don't even exist. And again, we're talking about 20 Israelis, 20 genocidal rape soldiers, and almost 2,000 Palestinian hostages. And when I say rape soldier, I mean, just look at the level of deceit and lying, how they claim that this guy, for example, over here, so she was freed in the Peer operation, but this guy, they claimed, oh yeah, he was just a civilian and he was just working for NVIDIA or something like that, right? Like NVIDIA make graphic cards and so on. And then it turns out today they can reveal that actually he's part of an elite unit. So, when we say that these people are prisoners of war, when we say that they are members of a genocidal rape army, we mean that quite literally. Every Israeli woman, every Israeli man has mandatory conscription. It's mandatory. You have to do it. At 18, 2 years, then you're a reservist till 40. So, it's extraordinary how they strip them of any guilt and try to humanize them. And then when it comes to Palestinians who do not have any mandatory conscription, the bulk of them have not even been put through a sham trial. There isn't even one, right? So their detention is completely illegal. They are hostages by definition. There are not only scores more of living Palestinians held, but also leagues more bodies as well, right? You have 28 Israeli bodies, remains that are in Gaza still. I think some of them might have been handed over already, but 28 in total as part of this so-called deal. You've got hundreds of Palestinian remains, bodies being withheld by the Israeli occupation. Hundreds. And that's actually part of a British colonial law, right? But look at the mainstream media, still lying to this day. Just listen to this sentence.
Let me take you through the other names who we know are being released, could be happening right now. Matan Angres, 22 years old, a soldier in the IDF, kidnapped from a tank during a battle with Hamas fighters near the Gaza border.
You stupid bitch. Kidnapped from a tank. You mean captured in battle? You can't be kidnapped from a tank. What does that mean, kidnapped from a tank? He was captured in battle. That's what happened. He's fair game. He was in uniform. He was on duty. He was in a goddamn armored vehicle. Like, how do you how do you go on TV and say that stuff? Kidnapped from a tank. Really, shame on you, honestly. Besides, if someone kidnapped me from a tank, I kind of just go like, fair play. I mean, you reached into the goddamn thing and pulled me out. What can I say, right? Like, I had a tank and you were in flip-flops. So, I mean, what? She's completely delusional. And this is a script that's been written and distributed by the Israelis, right? They've been saying this sentence for almost 2 years. Kidnapped from a tank. I mean, what an insult to people's intelligence. Some people really deserve to be slapped for this stuff, right? Maybe not literally, but certainly figuratively. So let us try and conclude. Let me conclude what happened. Did the Israelis win? Did Hamas win? Israel failed to destroy Hamas. Israel had several stated public military objectives in Gaza. One of them was to destroy Hamas. They failed. The other was to disarm Hamas. They also failed. They wanted to destroy Hamas infrastructure, the so-called terror tunnels. They failed. They wanted to liberate Israeli captives by force. They also failed. Okay? Not only that, but they also lost public opinion, right? They also delayed normalization with the Arab world, okay, with the crime families that have been installed by Britain and America. And Hamas not only succeeded in getting thousands of Palestinians freed from the Israeli rape dungeons, which was the goal since day one, right? Like, when you take people hostage, the point is to use them as bargaining chips. Why? Because you want to liberate your own people, right? That was the idea. I'm not agreeing or condoning or condemning it. This is an objective, logical conclusion, right? You take hostages because you want something. So what did Hamas want? They wanted to get thousands of Palestinians out of Israeli rape dungeons. Did they succeed in that? Yes, they did, because we saw that today. The swap happened today. So Hamas succeeded in that. Moreover, Hamas succeeded in not only liberating all those Palestinians, but in isolating Israel. Okay, so look at this speech, this clip of Yahya Sinwar and what he says. This is exactly what happened.
إنه خلال أشهر محدودة أنا تقديري أنها لن تزيد على العام أن نجعل الاحتلال أمام خيارين. إما أن نرغم بتطبيق القانون الدولي واحترام القرارات الدولية والانسحاب من الضفة والقدس وتفكيك المستوطنات وإطلاق سراح الأسرى وعودة اللاجئين، إما أن نرغم نحن والعالم على هذه الأمور ونحقق إقامة دولة فلسطينية على الأراضي المحتلة عام 67 بما فيها القدس، أو أن نجعل هذا الاحتلال في حالة تناقض وتصادم مع الإرادة الدولية كلها ونعزله عزلا عنيفا شديدا وننهي حالة اندماجه في المنطقة وفي العالم كله وحالة الانهيار التي حدثت في كل جبهات المقاومة وفي كل جبهات اللاءات التي كانت خلال السنوات الماضية.
Is that not exactly what happened? They have placed Israel in a state of complete, utter contradiction with public opinion, with global public opinion, with international law. For the first time in history, we've seen anti-Zionism at its peak. We've seen Israel dragged before an international tribunal. Extraordinary, right? This is This is groundbreaking. This is unprecedented stuff. So this is one of the big strategic victories that Hamas achieved. Again, this is a purely objective conclusion, right? Even Israelis themselves will tell you this stuff, that Israel's image has been tarnished. Israel has been turned into a pariah state. Yes, you have these war criminals gathering in Sharm el-Sheikh and dancing to Trump's tune and walking around like a bunch of court jesters. That doesn't mean anything. Their own populations, the world population, has been completely and utterly turned against Zionism. This is a fact. This is a fact. This is why the Israelis are scrambling to get CBS to put this cockroach Barry Weiss in charge by TikTok, etc., right? Now, what about the Israeli victories? Did the Israelis achieve anything? Yes, they did. They achieved a partial genocide, and we don't even know if it's over yet. It could very well resume tomorrow morning. They succeeded in weakening Hamas, but not defeating it. They killed Yahya Sinwar. They killed Haniyeh. They killed Hamad al-Daif. They succeeded in weakening Hezbollah. They killed Nasrallah. They killed Fuad Shukr. They succeeded in toppling Bashar al-Assad. They destroyed Syria. They cut off the main supply route to Hezbollah. And we might see Israel succeed at stealing Gaza's resources and Gaza's land. This deal that has just been, we've just seen phase one of it carried out. It has other phases. And those phases mention so-called redevelopment. We're seeing vultures like Donald Trump, like Jared Kushner swooping in. That means that they're probably going to pick the meat off of Gaza's bones. They're going to start, installing this Riviera, building this Riviera that they've talked about, which is basically a giant Ponzi scheme. It's just a land grab, right? So they can make a quick buck like the sleazy thieves that they are. Not to mention the mini documentary that I did in October 2023, where I talked about the Ben Gurion Canal. We could very well see that being built. They are probably going to take Lebanon and Syria's gas as well as Gaza's gas on the Mediterranean shore. So this is in the Leviathan Basin. All of this is still possible entirely. And they might even get away with framing it as peace, right? As some sick PR stunt. And like I said, the war is maybe not over. This genocide is maybe not over. The Israelis have never acted or negotiated in good faith. And as a matter of fact, speaking of bad faith, you've seen Katz, Israel Katz, the defense minister, on Twitter yesterday talking about getting the IDF to go in and dismantle all of the Hamas tunnels. So they are openly talking about planned ceasefire violations. So I don't think it's over, and by no means this is going to bring any stability. So is it a stalemate in that case? Is it a draw? Is it a loss for both sides? Or is there no clear victor? I can't tell. I mean, like right now at this juncture, we haven't reached something where, there's no going back and it's a point of no return. We haven't crossed that threshold yet. But I think Israel's public image this was necessary for Zionism to start crumbling, right? Now, you might be thinking, well, Israel's public image, what's the point of that crumbling if on the ground, materially speaking, physically, literally, they are still getting away with killing people and stealing land and destroying buildings, and they still occupy 58% of Gaza? Sure, but the weapons that Israel uses to do those things, all of its material gains and resources come from the West, where public opinion is failing. So, you could make an argument that actually that is the first step necessary in order to deprive them of those material resources. Again, only time will tell. But I wouldn't call it a stalemate. I would say that this has been concluded. Like I said, if you just look at the stated objectives of both sides, the Israelis failed in every single one of their stated objectives, and Hamas succeeded in every single one of them, in getting hostages released by force and in isolating Israel on the international stage. So just objectively speaking, purely from a neutral standpoint, it's a victory for Hamas, right? Is that going to lead to dismantling of the occupation, Palestinian refugees getting their land back, Zionism being defeated, that I don't know. That I don't know. But I don't think that Trump going to Sharm el-Sheikh and the Knesset and putting on this whole circus is necessarily going to lead to, Netanyahu holding back. The Americans just tug the leash a bit. Israel is their attack dog, and they just tug the leash a bit. That's it. That's it. Did Trump sound like he was reprimanding Netanyahu or Israel? For a second, did he sound like he was angry or reprimanding them? Not even a bit. You couldn't even, try and make that misinterpretation. Not at all. There's no regret. There's no scolding. Nothing. Right? He just tugged the leash. That's it. But that is a rabid attack dog. That's what it's designed to do. Okay? And its master is very happy with its behavior. There's no problem with that behavior. It supports and encourages and enables that behavior. So do not trust either of them for 1 second. Donald Trump and Netanyahu are sleazebags, okay? They are cut from the same cloth. Don't trust them for 1 second. So I'll see you guys in Belfast tonight, right? I'll be in Belfast today on October 14th. And again, I'm going to pull up the poster for you guys for the event. I'll be with Sean Murray in Belfast tonight. Let me just get that, put it up on the screen. And I hope to see some of you there. So there you go. It should be up on the screen now. Okay. So 7 p.m. All right. Tuesday, October 14th in Belfast. Hope to see some of you guys there. Take care. Ma salame. And bye-bye.